Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Reclaimed Ranch. So this little guy is the reason I didn't get my video up yesterday. We just got this little guy and his name is Charlie. And so he's my second Frenchie, and I don't know what I was thinking. I'm 47 years old and trying to be up every couple hours a night is quite the task. So let's go ahead and get into these projects. So this little box I got from a thrift store for about $6, I think. It was a little cutlery box, and it needed a lot of TLC. I ripped out all of the insides, had to scrape all the glue and the extra paper off, and that took actually quite a while. This box is the death of me on this video. And you'll see I messed up really big, and I'm going to tell you why when I get there, and I'll tell you what not to do. So both sides seem to be coming undone. So what I do is I took my Titebond wood glue, and then I added some brad nails to it to keep it nice and tight. And then any of the openings, I went ahead and used the putty, the wood putty there, to close up those openings. So I let that sit for about 15 minutes, and then I ended up sanding it down smooth, and I used the DIY paint in the color Faded Burlap. I put 2 coats of that on, let them dry in between, and then I sealed it with the liquid patina from DIY. So anyway, this little guy, Charlie, my husband and I already have a Frenchie and we have a boxer. And one of his friends at work showed him a picture of a litter that was close to our home. And he said, "Oh no, I can't show my wife. I can't show my wife." And of course, he ended up showing me. So that was the green light that I knew he wanted to get one. And so we went and picked him up. And he is just a ball of energy. So he's perfect for my female fawn, which I'm sure if you've seen my other videos, you know who she is. But my boxer just doesn't know what to think. So back to the box here. My plan was to use some transfers from the Millets pages, those beautiful eggs. And what happened here was I put the transfer on. But when I started rubbing the transfer down and I tried to pull that vellum paper up, the paint started peeling with it. So that was a big no-no on my part. And the reason it started doing that was I didn't prep my surface correctly. So what I should have done was before I painted, I saw it, or you saw I wiped it down really well. But before I painted, I should have sanded the top down completely. And there was a stain varnish on there that looked like it was going to be okay, but apparently it was peeling off. And that's why it didn't stick down. It was just stuck to the peeling varnish. So I ended up ruining this transfer. I was so bummed. So you can see here, I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? So I had to rip it off, sand it down. I was so sad. And then start over, basically. So learn from my mistakes. Always prep your surface correctly. I know it takes extra time, but it's well worth it. So then I went ahead and repainted it. But this time I didn't seal it. I just left the DIY paint on, and it seemed to work. It still was tough, kind of. But that's because there's these little tiny numbers on there by the eggs, and those are always hard anyway to get off. So I just took my time, watched a show while I was doing this. Didn't want to rush it because I didn't want to ruin any more of the transfer than I already did. And eventually I got it all on there, and I sealed it with the liquid patina on top. So how many of you out there are also Frenchie lovers? One look at those little faces and those ears, I just fell in love with the breed. And they're so cuddly and just love to sit in your lap, and it's just, they're so much fun. Okay, so the final part of this is I'm going to use the DIY dark wax just to kind of make it look a little bit worn and old because some of that transfer didn't completely transfer over. So I'm just going to age it up a little bit and make it look like it's meant to be. There's always a fix for everything, which is what I like. And then on the inside, I didn't quite finish it, but I did paint it all black. And then I'm going to add a little bit, because the bottom is just a piece of like thick cardboard. I'm going to add a really thin, maybe like an 1/8 or 1/4 inch piece of plywood in there, just so that it has more of a solid bottom. And then I'll stain that, and then it'll be finished. So I think it did turn out finally good. It was definitely a work of art for me, and taught me a little bit to just step back and don't try and skip anything. And I have about like 20 rolling pins in my stash, so I figured I need to get some done. So this one I'm going to, the rolling part was actually really good condition. There was no nicks, no nothing. So I'm just going to work on the handles on this one. And I'm using the DIY color in cake batter. I'm going to paint 2 coats and then distress it back, which is, it's hard to see because the rolling pin itself is kind of a yellow color. But once I seal it, then it kind of darkens up a little bit. And I'm going to use the liquid patina for that. And then I'm going to end up going back to my all-time favorite IOD stamp, the birds and the bees. And I'm going to put a couple of the bees on here. So another thing I learned is not everything turns out like you want it, but sometimes it's like a happy accident. So when I went to stamp these bees on here, of course it's a rounded surface and it changes the depth and length and stuff, so it was hard. And I tried to redo it, and that one turned out okay, but this next one turned out pretty smeared. You can't tell in the video, but so then I went to wipe it down to start over, and I'm like, oh, that looks like it's been worn and used and well loved. So I'm like, hey, that's actually turning out pretty good. So I just stamped the other ones and wiped it back, and it's got like its own distressed piece. So that was perfect. And so I sealed it up with the liquid patina again, and then I'm going to use the Sweet Pickins All Natural Hemp Oil. I do sell Fusion hemp oil, but I had this already open, so I need to use this up first. And I put a nice healthy coat on there, on the middle part, and let it soak in, and then just wiped back the excess, and it is ready to be used. It's not just a decor piece, so that's what I like about that. And this next one, I have these lamps. I have a pair of them. I bought them at a thrift store for $10 each, and they are super heavy. It looks like wood, but I believe it's resin. And so I'm going to go in with the faded burlap. I cleaned it first really well, got all the dust out of the nooks and crannies, and then put 2 coats of the faded burlap on. And then I'm going to use a baby wipe to distress back some of that really nice dark rich color underneath. And these turned out just gorgeous. I did seal it with, I started with liquid patina, but I ended up going with the Sweet Pickins matte top coat because that liquid patina does have a bit of a sheen to it, and I didn't really want them to shine that much, so I ended up going with the matte top coat. That turned out perfect. So this final project we have is a little handmade cow napkin holder. And I looked at the bottom and it was handmade locally in my city, Spokane, Washington. So we're just going to give it some color. We're going to use the DIY's Apothecary, which is a very pretty blue-green color. Great for spring, for Easter, and not really have you ever seen a blue-green cow, but I think it just turned out cute. So I put 2 coats on and, of course, distressed back the edges, and then sealed it in again with that Sweet Pickins top coat there in the lower left corner, you can see. And he turned out really, really cute. So this is that little finger sander, And these things, I tell you what, come in so handy. I got mine off of Amazon, and it comes with all these different size sandpapers. So if you don't have one, I would definitely recommend one if you're into crafting quite a bit. They come in real handy. So I'm just putting that top coat on, and I only put one on there because I think it should be enough. If not, it just, whatever comes off of the paint will distress it and make it look better. So here's a close-up of that lamp that I did. Got a shade for it. Turned out gorgeous. Totally updated those. So I will be putting those in my booth to sell. And then here are the rest of the items. I'm going to have to say the box is going to be my favorite because it gave me a run for my money. But I think it turned out really well in the end. You just got to stay consistent and persistent and get them done. Let me know what you guys think, and I will keep going through my stash and seeing what we can find for y'all. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday. Bye.